Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 4. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And for those listening back on the pod, it is Friday, the 4th of April, and we've had one game of round 4 play already, and we've got 7 more games to go, and the final week of best 18. So, as they say, get your ducks in a row, get your team set up ready for best 22. But joining me is a special guest. He was on a couple of weeks ago, and he's been a regular guest last couple of years. It is Darren, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, the 2023 AFL Fantasy Champion. Mate, how are you? How's the season been going for you since we last chatted, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Bales. Thanks for having me on again. So far this season, I'm not doing too bad. Not the heights of 2023, but before the round, I was ranked just inside the top 4K. So about where I want to be at this point in time so far. Just need to keep fixing up the team. It's not looking in the great condition at the moment. I've got probably one too many rookies, so I'm really trying to get that upgrade this week, whereas a lot of people are trying to get the double downgrade, so trying to get that one step ahead at the moment. Unfortunately, had the TDK last night as the VC, so I'm in a bit of a scramble at the moment to see who's going to be my C, whether that's tonight or maybe down the line with the Dawson. But overall, I'm pretty happy with where I'm sitting at the moment.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Yeah, the TDK one was a bit of a shame. He was looking on track for a good score, particularly first quarter he's on like 34. Then he was on, I think, just over 50 at halftime. And then just that third quarter just didn't do anything at all. And then last quarter was a bit the same. So second half, just a bit frustrating. I didn't have him as a VC, but I certainly wanted him to go. I wanted him to go about 105, like 105. So it's a good score for me, but not a good score for people to take him as a VC. Or maybe people are like, oh, I don't know. But 82 is a bit of a shame, and who knows, with Carlton playing poorly, Pitney, does he come back in? Because Cameron certainly got the better of him. That would be interesting, but we've all got the parachute of a Briggsy who's like 800, going to be sub 800K probably this week. So we do have a parachute, so a few people worried about TDK, but we'll deal with that when it comes. But I still think TDK has not been the issue for Carlton. It's been a lot of the other players sitting there. So do you just have TDK last night? Was he the only player you had in the game? Would you have like a Chera, or did you somehow keep a Hollands or a Perryman? Who'd you have last night?
I wish I kept Hollands in the end. He went well last night. I actually traded him just this week, so I knew as soon as I traded him he was going to go well. But yeah. I don't think it's sustainable. 87 off 2 goals as well. It just isn't. Yeah. It didn't feel right. He's not that sort of a cumulative player, so we all got that sort of wrong to start the season. So I'm glad to see the back end of him. Similarly with Perryman, like even though he went well last night, I'm still glad to see the back end of him, because I still think there's a huge risk that he goes back next week, even with the likes of Houston out for a couple of weeks as well. So there's obviously a huge risk for those 2 players. So if you still have them, definitely still be concerned. Don't just take 1 week sample and be like, oh, beauty, we're good. Definitely can go the wrong way. But unfortunately, I didn't have Chera either. He's been one that I've missed this entire season, and it's just been hurting me every single week. They seem to play every Thursday night, and I start the week just terribly because Chera just seems to find a way to get a decent score and continue to generate money, and I just don't have him. So that's probably why my midfield's quite poor at the moment.
Yeah, so just TDK for you then, just with the VC. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, so yeah, same with me, just TDK last night. No Chera. That was at the last quarter. He had like 3+6s and like another kick in the space of like a minute. And I was like, this is disgusting. Like everyone that had him was happy, and everyone that didn't have him was like, come on. We thought he was going to get like another 80, 85, but no, ended up being a ton because of that score. But kudos to anyone that still got him. I wish I went him over Hollands to start the year, but unfortunately did not do that. So we're trying to work our way back from a few mistakes in the first couple of weeks. But if you guys have got any questions, chuck them through in the comments, and we'll be answering a heap of those as we go through. We'll go for about another, 45, 50 minutes for the rest of the pods. So make sure you keep getting your questions in and everything like that. So we'll touch on trades for this week, Darren. So what have you ended up doing with your trades? Well, obviously you mentioned Hollands has gone for you. So what were your 2 moves that you've done this week?
So, yeah, I've got my 2 trade outs locked out already, which is a bit unfortunate because we have got some additional news tonight and potentially coming throughout the weekend. So it was a little bit of a dumb move, but I've got Hollands out and I picked up Christian Moraes as that guaranteed must-have rookie, in my opinion. Negative 27 break-even. He's just going to fly up in cash against St Kilda this weekend. But then the other trade was Lucas Camporelli, and I have grabbed Jake Soligo. He was sort of the best one I could sort of grab at that top end of the premiums. I'm just hoping that I can hold him through to the mid-season buys, and then when we get to luxury season, we can start to jump those guys up with his good run. So he's performing extremely well so far this season, averaging 113.7. We've got 2 great matchups coming this week and then next week against Geelong. So, yeah, I'm hoping he can have a bit of a pop score and potentially break that $1 million figure coming in through 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly. And no Matt Crouch for the Crows this week. So you'd think that Saligo gets that bit of a bump. I think all the Crows mids get that slight bump. I think Dawson was at 80% last week. So I think he probably stays around that mark this week. You've probably got a ranking was about 65, 70%. He probably stays up there or maybe even bump up at 1 or 2, depending on what they do with Rochelle out. And then Saligo probably gets the main bump. I think goes up to maybe that 60, 65, maybe even 70. And maybe Peakling gets a bit of a look, and maybe Sid Draper. So a few guys in the Crows probably get that small bump. But I think that the way they're playing, I think they'll try and keep the structure fairly similar to what it's been to start the season. For me, I went camp out last night over Hasty, but my boy Hasty's been named again, so I'm pretty happy. I think he'll be the sub looking at the bench. But if they put a Stocker or a Collard sub, then great. I'm hoping that Hasty's the replacement for O'Connell this week. But I guess we'll see. It's just annoying. He was so good in the first quarter against the Crows, and then just got completely outcasted, came back in somehow and is there. But that's the move. I went to Christian Rice, as you say, the rookie. I think we need him. Minus 27 break even he's got. So even if he got a great matchup against the Saints this week, could take a lot of +6s. If he goes even like a 60, he's going up like 70K, right? Or around there. So I think, and if he goes bigger than that, if he goes another 80 or 90, you're looking at maybe 100K. So for me, I think I've got to get him in. Then my other trade going Riley Sanders down to Ryan Marrick. I'm really keen on the Ryan Marrick pick. I think he will make a lot of cash while also I think he can touch the 80 average. I think he might go 75-ish around there, and 25 points of upside as a forward is good. I wish I could do Wicks to Marrick, which I can, but it means benching Davidson this week, which I don't love. And I think Sanders and Davidson could arguably score the same. If not, Davidson's got the ceiling. So I'm probably looking at that and banking some cash next week to upgrade Wicks and maybe do some DPP or have to wait the week after when we get DPPs roll through. Post round 5, and a few people were asking about DPPs. They roll in after gather round. So the conclusion of gather round will be when we get them. So a lot of us, I'm assuming you'll be there, Darren, but all of us will be at the Port Hawthorn game watching the footy and watching that game. Then we'll finish and we'll be on our phones checking socials to see when the Warren Dog drops all the DPPs for us. So looking forward to that. Now we'll go to captains for the week. So I'll go through quickly my top 10. If you guys do want the top 10 in depth and want to get my thoughts on those, plus the other options that are in consideration, then check out the round 4 captains video that uploaded yesterday. But my top 10 just quickly here. So number 1, got Dane Zorko against Richmond, 148 against Richmond last year. I could just see this being another mammoth score for him. So I've got him at number 1. I've got Josh Dunkley at 2, following this matchup again, 105 against Richmond last year. And I do think that he's been playing really good footy to start the year and think he can go well. And we've seen Richmond giving up some scores. So he's number 2. I've got Gawn at number 3 tonight. Not a great recent history against Geelong, but SDK at the moment is the ruck. I see Andrew Griffiths there saying Stanley will be laid in. That's a bit of he was pulled out of the VFL, didn't play. That's going to get the rumours circling. I've heard people say that is that going to be in for Tom Stewart? And that will be an absolute disaster for me holding Tom Stewart. So I hope it's not, but we'll see. But Gorney, good matchup against Geelong. I think it'd be good tonight and a really good VC option or potential captain option if you've used TDK. Jordan Dawson at number 4. His history is a bit up and down, like 89, 98, 128, 118 his last 4 against Gold Coast. But I think Gold Coast, they don't tag. Crouch being out just means that he'll have to play in the midfield even more. And I think he'll be a good option. And Gold Coast are a pretty decent matchup for mid. So he's number 4. Bailey Smith at number 5. Great start to the year for him. And his history against Geelong as well in his last, against Melbourne, his last 3, 125, 81, and 154. I love a bit of that 154 tonight from him. And great matchup. Melbourne are looking like a bit of a rabble at the moment. So I think Geelong players can cash in, and Bailey Smith should be one of those. Had 11 tackles last week. So if he can get some tackles and marks, that will help a lot with that. Had Tom de Koning at 6 last night. Disappointing from him. But if you had him VC, then obviously you'll have another captain to go into. Lockie Neal at 7. Turned up in his last 4 against Richmond, 122, 127, 107, and 100. So really good option. Great matchup. And this is the sort of matchup I could see Lockie Neal filling his boots and going pretty big. Tom Green, 8 against West Coast, 120 against them last year. Very good matchup for him. I think he goes really well. I've got Libba, Tom Libba, number 9. Freo, decent matchup, and Libba's been killing it to start the year, so he's a pretty good shout in that final game. And I've got Clayton Oliver at 10. I think Geelong, obviously, soft matchup for mids. I think he could potentially go very, very well tonight and be a bit of a sneaky pod VC. A lot of people are going to go Bailey Smith and a Gawn, either VC or captain. He could be a sneaky VC. And then Whitfield, McRae, Anderson, and English are the unlucky 4 that missed out on the top 10 this week. Whitfield, the West Coast matchup, a bit tricky for defenders. So, Darren, what are you looking at doing with your, obviously you said VC last night with TDK, but who are you looking at with your captain? Who's it on at the moment, or have you got another couple of options you're considering?
Still considering a few different options. It's been sort of sitting on Dawson for the last sort of 20 minutes or so, but it has been on Baz Linker for most of the day, to be honest. I just don't see a world where he doesn't go well in a much better matchup than the ones he's seen the last couple of weeks. He's played against, what was it? It was, I believe it was Freo, and he scored the 126, and then he scored against Brisbane 112. Melbourne are much easy. Yeah, Melbourne are a much easier matchup than both those teams. So how does he not go better than those two? Unless he cops a bit of attention, but I just don't see where he's going to get that attention from at all. So I might just back him in tonight, hoping he can at least scrape to 100, 110 and just be happy with that. But it's hard not to go with Dawson because we know how good he has been. Yes, he had a bit of a blunder last week where wasn't really necessarily needed in that midfield. It was a bit of a weird sort of game where not a lot of the midfielders actually scored particularly well. Looking at Tom Power, only scored the 76 or something like that as well.
Matt Crouch got a 50, LDU got a 7 odd as well. Dawson obviously 80. So it's like pretty much besides Saliga and Rankin, everyone else was pretty quiet. Even Sheasel got there really late as well.
Yeah, and we know what Sheasel can do. He can just rack wherever he goes. So he would have gone back to get a fair few of those points as well. So it was a bit of a weird game. So I'm probably putting that out of my thinking with what Dawson's doing at the moment. My only concern with Gold Coast is that we've only got a 2-game sample size against them. And the highest score they've given up so far is to a Clayton Oliver, who scored 108. So it's probably not the ceiling that I'm looking for. But when you're comparing Dawson to Clayton Oliver, I do think Dawson's in a bit of a different category at the moment. So
who would have thought that 3 years ago? We're saying that like Dawson's like this and Oliver's. I think Oliver's slowly getting back to. He's been pretty good last couple, but I do get your point. Obviously, though, like Dawson at the moment, we're thinking top 2 or 3 midfielder in terms of what we think end of the season. But yeah, it's a good point you raised with Gold Coast start of the year. I just do look at that and go, they played West Coast. Obviously, West Coast haven't got many high scorers, and they didn't have Ryan Marrick playing that game. So it would have been different if my boy Ryan Marrick was playing there. And then they played Melbourne, who are absolute rabble. So this is a good test for both teams, actually, for Gold Coast and for Adelaide. Be interesting to see how both teams not only play and go against each other, but also fantasy-wise, are they a tricky matchup? Because even Adelaide have had a couple of softer matchups to start the year. So it'd be interesting to see how both these teams go, and if your Andersons and your Dawsons and Rows and guys like that and Rankins can all score well still, or if they're maybe tougher matchups for each other. So,
are you backing your boys to win that game?
I am, but it's obviously nervous. Gold Coast going up there, they're very hard to beat up there. It's almost like they're almost like a little bit like the new West Coast. Like you go over there, it's very, very hard to come out with a win the way they play, because they struggle away from home. That's the thing, but they've won both their games. So I'm hoping that maybe they start the year a bit slower at home and they lose their first game after winning two away. But we'll be interested to see, I think.
I think they're a very good chance to win this one.
Yeah, Rochelle, Crouch, and Nick Murray out is a bit of an issue, but Charlie Ballard out for Gold Coast is also a bit of an issue with the tall forwards. Should be a good game, though. But I do have my captain on Jordan Dawson in that game, and I've got the VC on Baz tonight. So I know me and Louis, I was chatting to Louis before, that we both got the VC on him tonight. So what did he say? He said we're going to be having shots if he goes 150. So who knows? Might be a big night for Bales if Bailey Smith goes 150. So that's the hope, but we will see for sure. But yeah, cool. Alrighty, let's get stuck into some of these questions. So as I said before, if you guys are tuning in live, I already see a ton of questions coming through. So if you guys have got any questions, then feel free to put them in as well. If you would like a guaranteed answer, the super chat button is there, but we'll try and answer all the questions anyway. So that is not necessary at all, but appreciate the support if you do that. And Corey's got the first super chat here. So thanks, mate. Appreciate the support there. He said, thoughts on Finn O'Sullivan and Lawler for Marek and Marais, and next week can fix up Campo and SDK. So firstly, what are your thoughts on trading Lawler out now? And then obviously, what's your thoughts on the trades outside of that?
I'm not super against trading Lawler out. Obviously, he's got a bit of a higher break even now. I think it's around the 24 mark. He's up at 440K. So he's sort of made his money. He could still potentially go up a little bit more, but it's not like it's you don't need to hold him, right? I think it's a good time to downgrade him, bank that extra bit of cash. And it's good to see that Corey here is trying to plan for next week with getting Campo out if he's not named, and then getting SDK up, because SDK obviously we know is going to be a problem sooner rather than later, and he's probably going to top out in cash. So I love those trades.
And we'll find out in about, 15 minutes or something like that? 20 minutes to
like
see if Stanley's name. Yeah, 20 minutes to see if Stanley's name. So if you guys want to know straight away, make sure you follow at AFL Subs. Eloise and Jordox doing great work there, and we'll get notified pretty much straight away. Turn notifications on and follow. Sorry, continue, Darren.
Yep. So yeah, I love those trades. Foss out obviously this week. Very similar camp to Alula. Hasn't really made too much cash, and he's not moving very quickly. So if you can get off him and make an upgrade on one side and get down to the must-have rookie on the other side, then it's amazing trades. You're not only putting points on field, you're putting more cash generation in the bank. So it's amazing trades in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd tick them off. Yeah, I'd tick them off. The only thing I'd say is check the rest of your bench, and if you've got a Hasty there or like guys like that, I'd trade a Hasty out first. I know he's been named and he's on the extended bench, and he might come in and play the O'Connor role, but he's not going to make much cash long term. Those guys will come back and he won't be in the side, I don't think. So if you've got a Hasty, I'd rather fix up Hasty than one of those guys. But I think Lawler, break him 25, as you say, like he's not going to make a heap more cash. I think his ceiling is pretty much capped at 70. Like he hasn't gone over 70 this year, but I think it's probably like 70, 75 is probably his ceiling in the Richmond team, and he's not getting bulk midfield time. But there are games where they chuck him in there, and maybe the Brisbane game they might want to put him up against an experienced midfield and try and get some exposure into him. But then you could also look at the other way and go, well, Brisbane, tough matchup. Let's not expose the young kid early, so maybe he plays a bit more forward. So interesting to see. And then Finn O'Sullivan's out, even still hasn't been lighting the world on fire. Like he's a great player, showing some really good moments, like some spins and everything like that, but he's not the accumulator like we've seen a McKercher or Sheasel back there when they started their career, even at Dacos, obviously at Collingwood. So, for me, they can both go. And Marek, I'm big on this week, and also Marais going to make. Marais could be the same price as Lawler and be above, and he will be above Finn O'Sullivan this week, right? So you're making a lot of cash there. So I think we tick those off there, Corey. Tim Ashworth's got a super chat as well. Thanks, mate. He says, would you trade Sanders, Fraser, Callahan out next week? Which two would go next week for you? So I don't know about you. I think Callahan's fine. I think tag game last week against Finn McGuinness. So Finn tagging Finn. I think Sanders and Fraser go next week if you're trading those two. Would you agree there, Darren?
Yeah, 100%. Callahan's only going to go well this week. There's talks that he may even go 110 plus against West Coast. So you expect he's going to generate some cash from next week, and he rolls into St Kilda. So I don't see why you'd move off him next week if he's going to generate some cash further for you and be points on field. I'd definitely be moving off of Sanders probably first in that group. So that's just my opinion, though. Yep,
I agree with it as well. Figsy's got this one saying, is Marek good despite no Edwards, and what about Garcia with no Steele? So I think with Marek being no Edwards, Marek's not a tall defender, so it's not actually a concern for me at all. He's the distributor coming out of the back line there. He's got kick-ins. He's not going to play. I know he's centre-half back, right, but that doesn't really mean anything. I'd see the likes of Sandy Brock's come in. He's a tall defender. Brady Hoff and even a Jinby are going to play tall defenders over him. So I'm not concerned. But Harry Edwards out is an interesting call considering they're up against the Giants and they've only got really one designated tall defender. So interesting, but I guess we'll see. But I'm not concerned. Are you not concerned about Marek at all?
No, he's named on halfback there. He should be more than fine to continue what he's doing. They've clearly shown a commitment to him to take a lot of those kick-ins back there. So, yeah, no concern for me at this stage.
Yeah. And then Garcia with no Steele out. Tell you what, talk about people that held him being kissed. And for all the people watching out there, congrats. Like this game, you need some luck to go your way. I'd definitely accept that a lot. Right? But as someone that traded out Garcia 2 weeks ago when he was named the sub, and I adjusted and kept Hasty over Garcia, and then seeing now Jack Steele's been out 2 weeks in a row, just it really that trading him out couldn't have really gone any worse for me, to be honest. But no, Garcia, and I think you agree, Darren. Garcia with no steal. I think Garcia is going to be good. Low game time will steal, but we saw he can go 100 last week. Probably not going to go 100 against Port Adelaide and Giants in the next two, but if he can go 75, 80 plus, you'd be pretty happy with that.
Well, 100%. He's going to fly up in cash. He has a break even of 10. I think he can probably hit the tops of 90 in this game. We saw how quickly he can score against Richmond last weekend. So yeah, in that prime role, even though it is low time on ground, he should be primed to be another big score. So make sure you have him on your field this week.
Yep, exactly. Eliza saying second trade is Foster Marrick with 105k left, or Sanders to Rankin with 27k left and an on-field red dot. So it's a really good question. A few people are tossing up this week. I don't know about you, Darren. I like Marrick, but Rankin's probably one of the top guys you probably need. So I'm Sanders to Rankin. Do you agree?
I probably do agree with that, just because you are getting a player that you're going to be keeping for the rest of the year. We all expect Rankin's going to be a keeper for the rest of the year, and we probably expect he can push the likes of a 100 average now. We've seen 3 weeks in a row where he's been on track to go massive. So I don't see any reason why he should be slowing down, and he's not going to get any cheaper for the rest of the year, I wouldn't have thought, unless he starts getting some really big tags. So you might as well jump on board. But again, Marrick is super cheap, but there is still some concern that the role could be shifted at any point. So I guess you just go, it depends what your risk factor is. Do you want to go with the risky move and get that cash generation and get the points on field? Or do you go the other way and go the safe option and go Rankin and just have a keeper for the rest of the year, get that little bit of cash generation and not have to trade him out at some stage as well? So yeah. If it was my team, I would definitely go Sanders to Rankin, just because I still think Sanders is a nothing pick and you want to jump off him rather than get him getting stuck in your side.
Yeah, and it makes it a bit tricky because a lot of people are saying, do I go Sanders down to Marrick and make cash, or go up to Rankin? This is obviously with Foster Marrick, and that makes it a little bit trickier, but I still do think Foster will make some cash. Marrick, I guess he could still jump on next week, whereas if you get forced trades next week and can't get Rankin, he could get away from you, even though his cash isn't going to go spike up as much as what a Marrick will. So, yeah, I do like the Rankin in. I believe we've got another super chat. Yes, we got one from Twin Towers. So thank you very much for the super chat. Foss out with illness. Do we get off Leak or Finn O'Sullivan first? Oh, Leak for me.
Yeah, I probably agree with Leak. He's not coming back into the side anytime soon. His cash dried up. But I guess the only question remains in that is, does it determine who you're getting? Like if that makes you have to go Bice instead of a Moraes, then
yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking that. Yeah.
I'm definitely leaning towards getting Moraes as probably the number one priority this week over a Bice, who you can probably pick up next week. So, yeah, make a call realistically.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. If you're getting Moraes, that probably tips it in the favour of Finn O'Sullivan, because I think Moraes is who you need. But Leak as well will be a Leak in your side, because he'll be a red dot. So he won't be making any cash for you. So, yeah, it depends who you're bringing in there. So Twin Towers, let us know who you're bringing in there. Andrew Griffith saying about Pitney's a chance to come out for Blues next week, as they need big changes potentially. But obviously we can look at that all next week. Pretty much all of us have got Tom de Koning. So if that's the case, we got Kieran Briggs there. We got Ryan Marshall. If he goes well again this week, who knows if a Gawn turns around? Gawn's an option. Like, there's options. We got a few options to go to. But second question is, I think if a double downgrade, it's risky. Obviously talking about the TDK being out. I think this is a good week for a double downgrade, Darren. I don't know about you, but obviously with the cloud over TDK, obviously we're not going to know right until next week. So you probably you can't really predict these things. But do you think it's a good week for a double downgrade with the likes of with a Bice and a Moraes and even like a Langford and a Draper and a few of these other guys like Max Hall, if people haven't jumped on yet, a few people going there. Do you think this is a good week for a double downgrade?
It's probably the best time to do it because we are in the best 18 round. So if there's ever a time to do a double downgrade, it's definitely this week. But overall, I'm pretty against doing the double downgrade. I think we all know the stats that I don't think any previous winner has done a double downgrade previously. I know I didn't do one back in my winning year. I can't confirm if Chris did it last year, but it's a very different game at the moment where we have these early buys that help a little bit. So I'm not in favour of doing a double ground grade, hence why I'm not doing one this week. But if there's any time, it is right now because of the best 18, and there's so many good rookies that you can grab at the moment that we have quite a bit of confidence in that is going to be in the side long term and generate a huge amount of cash. So take that as what you will. What are your thoughts, Val? You like it or not?
Yeah, well, double downgrade's funny because it does split the community a little bit. A lot of people like it, a lot of people don't. I think there's on the certain thing where I don't really have, I guess, thoughts on if I'm for or against it. I think if it pops up and it's a good option to do it, and I can't get the upgrade I want the other end, I'm happy to double downgrade and get that cash. Whereas if it's a difference when if I can go like a lot of people are going, oh, do I go like a prior, for example, on buy? Do I go prior down to bias and get the cash but get bias in? Or do I use that money on top of another rookie and go up and get a mid-pricer or go and get a premium? I'm going to be going for the premium if you can get there. Like if you can get a premium, I think that's fine. But if you can't get up to anything over 700K and you're like, I don't really want to jump on anyone, I think it's fine. And I'm half doing a double downgrade as well this week, right? I'm going, well, I'm not really even double downgrade. It's sort of like Camperelli up to Marias, so rookie shuffle, and then I'm going Sanders down to Marek, right? So might be getting more points on field, but getting some cash. So it's a bit of a different double downgrade in my respect. But obviously, a few people are talking about, do I go like a Lawler or a Lindsay down and then go someone else down? But actually, this could all I think about Lindsay. What are your thoughts on? Because obviously, Jiggy Jig's got one here saying thoughts on Lindsay to Marek or Foss to Langford. What are your thoughts on Lindsay? Obviously, he might miss a week or two, but apparently could be back as early as next week. Are you in favour of holding him? Or if it gets the move you want, are you happy to trade?
This is the move I've been toying up all week because in one sense, I really think we should be holding him because I think he could be the rookie that really gets away from us if you don't have him. If you trade him out, he could continue on his way and continue to average 80, 90 and probably won't be a keeper for us for the year just because he's in a midfield at the moment, but he could potentially get forward status, as we know. So he's one of the rookies that could get away from us. I remember last year I got rid of Wilson too early, and he just absolutely killed my season just because he was just putting points and points on everyone else's field, and I just was losing so quickly. So I feel like if hopefully he's back next week, and then I think it's a bad move dropping off him. If it pushes to 2 or 3 weeks, then it's sort of like, okay, we're going to see how he sort of plays out because there is a bit of risk that he doesn't score as well as what he has shown so far because there are a lot of players that have come back. You know, Caleb Windsor's gone back into the half-back role. Does that then push Lindsay back onto the wing a little bit more? Even though he's shown he's been able to score quite well, we typically see the wing as a 70 sort of average play. So that means he probably only has 150, 200K max left to make. And if that's the case, then I probably think the trade is a good sort of aggressive move that can get you that next best player because he does have so much money on his head at this point in time. And it does make the difference. For example, this week I was tossing up, do I trade a Lindsay? And that would allow me to get up to a Brayshaw instead of a Saligo who would be a keeper for the week. So that would be the aggressive move. But then again, I really think Lindsay could be back next week with all the reports. He's saying he's running, he's looking good. So he could be back next week. And yeah, again, he could be that rookie that really hurt your season. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in most cases I'd be holding a Lindsay. I think the one case where some people have asked and I'd tick it off is if it's like a Finn O'Sullivan or someone else out gets you to like I don't know, O'Driscoll, for example, right? Let's just use him as an example. Or going Lindsay out gets you to a Rankin. I think I tick that off. I think if you can go like a Lindsay to a Rankin and make that work, I think I'd tick it off because you could always bring Lindsay back in if he comes back and plays half back and is killing it. But people that trade out Lindsay are probably thinking, well, if he comes back, what if he's a starting sub? What if he gets subbed out? What if he comes back through the VFL for a week? There are a lot of other things that could happen. He might not just come straight back in. I think he will come straight back in, but there is that chance that he doesn't. So I think in some scenarios it can work. But I think most cases, best 18, he's a rookie anyway. You're replacing him with another rookie. You're probably not losing out on many points at all. I like holding him, but there are some scenarios where it can help and get the better upgrade. But yeah, just in regards to the question, would you be going, so Gigi was saying Lindsay to Marek or Foss to Langford? So obviously getting Marek in for Lindsay, or do you just do Foss to Langford and get Langford in?
I do like Langford because I do think he's going to be quite a vital rookie for us. He just needs to stay out of that vest. I just have some concerns with the people that they brought in this week. I can't remember exactly where he was named on the field, but yeah, I do have some concern. Yeah,
so
just because
Langford was named in a forward pocket, interesting enough. But then again, Clayton Oliver was named on the bench. They've got I think it's a bit over the place, so we'll obviously see. But yeah,
obviously he's playing a pretty high midfield role at the moment. I think he had 15 CBAs last weekend. I think that was equal third or equal fourth because they're not running Rivers in the middle, but they have brought Caleb Windsor back, as I said. So does that then push Trent Rivers back into the middle and push Langford back to the forward line?
He was a third mid there. Yep. There you got Oliver and Viney had 21. Langford had 16. Petrarca 15. Sparrow 12. Then you got like Johnson, Van Roy, and a couple had one each.
So they do want to get him in the middle. It's just there's so many moving pieces at the moment. They've even got a Pickett back, I believe, this week, or maybe even next week he might be back.
Yep.
Then he gets some CBAs as well. So that could push him out even further. So I do have some concerns with Langford, and his job security obviously was out last week and did start as a sub round 1. So I think the problem is if he has another good week like he did last week, he's probably unachievable next week because it'd be about 400k, if not over 400k. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't want to be paying up over 400k for many rookies. I think that's probably my boundary. I think that's too much. So yeah, it's a tough call to go with him. If I had to go with the other side of that trade, I'd probably be a bit more comfortable, to be honest.
Yeah,
play the aggressive.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, it depends where you're wanting, right? I think I still prefer the Foss to Langford play and keeping Lindsay, but there is a play I like Marek, which makes it tricky for me to choose. So it really depends where you're going, but I don't mind both. I think I'd just prefer to hold Lindsay though, but that's I think a call that Jiggy got to make there. Got another couple of super chats here. So Tim Astro's got another one. Thank you, mate. He's saying, would you go Sanders to Marek and then Fraser up next week? Obviously, week's a long time fantasy, Tim. I don't know if we can look too far ahead up further than this week, but on paper, Sanders to Marek and then Fraser up next week seem like good trades. So I'll tick him off. So a bit tricky though, because we don't know what's going to happen in the remaining 7 games. When we start planning too much ahead, we get things happen and we can't do the moves. But I don't mind the trades there, Tim, on face value. Jack Main's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. He's saying, is Foss out of your team if you do have him on field? I think this could change a bit if he's on your field. But if you bring him Marais in, you just play Marais for the week. Do you think Foss is a trade out if you need to move him?
Yes. If he's the best rookie you have that has the most money in his head, and you really need an extra person on field this week, I'd be moving him to get up to the best player you can, or doing it only costs you about 120k to get up to a Marek, or how do you say his name? Sorry,
Marek. You had Marais and Marek in the one.
No, I did that one time. Yeah, so doing that only costs you 120k, so that's where I'd try to be going. Yeah, but if he's on your bench, I don't see an issue with just holding him for the week and using him as a bit of a loop option this week, because we are all probably having a few too many rookies on our field at the moment and probably struggling with who we're going to field with Lindsay down at the moment. So using him as a loop option is a pretty luxurious position at this point in time.
Yeah, exactly. Got another super chat here from Tom Oz1. Foss to Bice or Lindsay to Marais to fund Rankin? Money's tight. So I think this is where I would tick off Lindsay, because if you're going Lindsay to Marais, you're getting Rankin. I think this is where I would tick off Lindsay out. Would you agree?
I think so. I think we just need Marais. So if you can't get Marais from a Foss, you just have to go with Lindsay. And I just wouldn't look back. Don't look back at Lindsay. You just hope it goes the right way. If you're really that keen on Rankin, which I think we all pretty much are, going to be a keeper. So yeah, I'd be doing those moves pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's a tough one because I think we both say we'd rather do Foss to Rankin if you can. But obviously money, as you say there, Tom, money's tight, so you can't make that happen. So yeah, this would be one of the cases I would tick off Lindsay out. But yeah, hopefully Lindsay doesn't come back and go massive. What do we got here? So I saw there was a question from Tony that I liked. We said that before actually. Is Marek away with Edwards being out as well? Brock will replace Gov, but does Marek need to play tall now, or does he go forward and Allen goes into defence? I don't think if Allen goes back into defence, Marek won't go forward. If Allen goes into defence, it'll be just because they need someone else back there. Marrick's fine. He's in this role. If they were going to just move him out, he wouldn't have been playing this role to begin with. If they needed him forward, they would have kept Harry Edwards in if they need another defender there. So clearly they have got a plan there. Marrick's not going to move. I think someone said he had an interview with, I think it was at Channel 7 or something like that in Perth, and saying that he's obviously changed of role into back, working on his halfback craft and everything. So I'm pretty comfortable with him being there. So I think he will be fine. Would you agree there, Darren? Obviously, you mentioned this before.
I do agree. I do think there is some concern. Is there a chance that Duggan even goes back? We've seen him play a bit of
that's another one.
Duggan
could go back. Yep.
Taller defender as well. So I don't knock that out of the equation as well. So I just think there's plenty of other options. I don't think Marrick is the player that they want being a lockdown defender as a tall key forward, tall key back, sorry. So I think he should be good for another week. And his break even so low that it's not a huge risk anyway. He'll make cash either way.
Yep, exactly. It is 10 past 6 or 6:40 for Melbourne, so we should be getting our subs very, very soon. I think this is almost the most nervous I've been to see if Tom Stewart's named or not. He better be bloody named. I'll tell you what, if he's not named and not there, it's going to be a panic station. I've got cover, but it's not going to be great if he's not there. So we're waiting for when they come through. We'll keep answering some more questions. So Belinda, data ranking via DPP or I'm assuming that's hold day and do bench fix up in leak to bias. Already gone Campo to Mariah. So are you leak to bias or are you going data ranking via DPP?
I think this depends how many red dot rookies you have, right? I don't think it's the most absolute priority to get off these red dot rookies if you have, say, less than 3. We all sort of have bias. Sorry, we already have Boyd, if I can get my names right. Lindsay as well, if you're looking to keep him. And then you've also got Foss that is just popped up as well. So if you have any more than that, obviously you got Lee jumping off, just going to Boyce. Because my opinion of Day is that if you've held him to this point, I think you're just holding for the rest until the mid-season buys. Now he's got such a good run coming up after his buy. Port Adelaide's not the best, but following that, it's the best run that you could ask for. And there's a potential chance that a lot of people will start to jump back on him, and that gives you one step up ahead of the competition where you've already got the guy that everyone might try and jump onto. So I'd be holding Day in that situation.
Yep. Yeah. It's as you say, if you've got 2 red dots, you do leak to bias. But if you've got a pretty healthy bench and your bench hygiene is going well, I think data ranking work attack points could be the play. So yeah, interesting one. But I do like leak to bias being that red dot there. We still don't have word about these late changes. This is just it's just
Geelong being Geelong, mate. They're going to pull something very late. I can feel it.
Because the AFL are probably having a go at them right now, saying, "What are you doing with all these late changes, bringing Stanley in and everything like that?" So we'll see. Yeah. Detached edit: C on Dawson or Bailey Smith? Tricky one because Dawson's at 4 and Bailey Smith's at 5, and Darren's going with that. Based on my order, I'm going to go Jordan Dawson. I think he is the safer pick as a captain, which is probably what I'd like. I think Bailey Smith's a really good VC, but who knows? What if there's a bit of calf soreness comes off early and gets rested towards the end of the game? If we think Geelong's going to beat Melbourne and beat them well, then maybe they rest Bailey Smith at some point. But yeah, I'll go Dawson just ahead of Bailey Smith. That's what I think. I would ask Darren, but he's obviously toying with this as well, and he's currently got Bailey Smith, but it is an interesting one to see.
I can't answer. You're convincing me a little bit with Dawson, I won't lie.
Yeah, I just think the matchup's good. I don't think he'll get tagged. So I think that he'll be fine. Still no updates. Most people are like, oh, geez, Buzz, you're bloody keeping track on the phone with these late updates. But yeah. What we'll do, because there's so many questions here, just pop your question back in the chat and put it at the bottom so we can just redo it. And we can just re-answer your question if you'd like to get it answered. Kobe just said Stanley's in.
Oh, no. Don't do this to me. It sucks because I was so keen this week to trade SDK because then I could get up to like the homes and just have a keeper. But now I'm knocked out of my trades because I traded Kemp.
There you go. Shout out to Tim Michelle, obviously from Code Sports and obviously on Supercoach. In a surprise to no one, Geelong's made a late change. Reece Stanley in and Blitzarves is out. So that's even worse for TDK because that means he's guaranteed to be playing key defence. So SDK, I think he's got to go. I think if you've got good trades outside that and you have to hold a week, I don't mind it. But I think you've got to You got to hold now. So you got to trade now if you can. But yeah, interesting. So if anyone's just missed that, Reece Stanley late in to a shock to absolutely no one. And Mark Blitzarves is the player that is out. So it still says the good thing is for the team here. Tom Stewart is in and named on ground, which is great. Subs for the game is Mark O'Connor and Charlie Spargo. So for those people that had a Ted Closey, that's a bullet dodge because I had a feeling he was going to be sub, but he's not. So, which is good. Clayton Oliver's still named on the bench. Whether they go with that or not is going to be interesting. But yeah, there we go. No surprise, as we say, that is what happens. So
Bloody
keep answering. Liam Tomlinson, why not captain Sam Taylor? Oh, come on, Liam, mate. If anyone tuned in on Tuesday at the end, Liam was just like, trade Sam Taylor. Liam, I've got a plan. I've got a good plan, mate. Sam Taylor's going to average 80 over the next 2 weeks. He's got West Coast and he's got St Kilda. And then DPP's come in. Finn O'Sullivan goes to my defender bench, play trainer or Reed, and go Sam Taylor to Nick Dacos. Thank you very much for coming. That's exactly what I'll be doing. We'll see how we go. I want to trade next week, but I like the Marek move and Marias move, and Sam Taylor's just got to stay for 1 week. But we'll see how it goes, Liam. But I know for a fact you want me to get rid of Sam Taylor, though. Daniel's got this one. Marias and Holmes or Bison Rankin? Oh, geez. I'd much prefer Rankin.
Question, sorry, Barrow?
I'd just say the combo Marias and Holmes or Bison Rankin. I think you've got to go Marias and Holmes.
Yeah, I like Holmes this week. I think he's locked in for top 6 defender this year. He's got a bit of value on his head, so I think that's a pretty good trade-in. He'd be the one I'm grabbing if I could.
Obviously, if you could somehow make it Rankin and Marias, that's obviously ideal, but I'm assuming you can't because that's why you've asked. Yeah. So, yeah, Marias and Holmes and try and get Rankin next week. That's what I'd be doing. Ben Johnson, who's better to get in, Bice or Marek? If you can afford it, I'm Marek.
Yeah, I'll probably Marek too in that one.
Yeah, depending on where you're going, right? If you're going Leak to Bice or like Sanders down to Marek, I think you just do Sanders to Marek next week, whereas getting Leak up the Bice this week is a move. Probably depends who you're trading out, but yeah, will be interesting. Tim, do you think Bice will be sub? I don't believe so, no. I'm just looking at the Sydney bench. Bice, Jordan, McLean, Cleary, and Sheldrick. No, it'll be one of Sheldrick or Cleary, I'd imagine. Could be Sheldrick. It won't be McLean, won't be Jordan. I don't think it'll be Bice. But there's a chance it could be, but I don't think it will be. So, but yeah, just something to watch though. And that's why I was a bit nervous with Bice anyway as an option, because I think a few people have obviously looked at how good an option he is. But if you look at the Sydney injury list and who's coming back over the next few weeks, I know that Mills has pushed out and I know Robbie Fox has pushed out, but look at the other people. Cunningham's 1 to 2 weeks away. He'll be back in the side. McInerney will be back in round 6 from suspension. Melican's 1 to 2 weeks away. So that's already 3 people that I think come back into the team. And I know that like Mills and a few other guys are pushed back. But yeah, I think that there is a well where he's not in the best 22 in 2-3 weeks' time, which is why I'm waiting another week to see. But if you can make the trade work this week, then by all means go for it, because I still think it's a good option. David Bray, SDK and Taylor for Marias and Sinclair, or SDK and Foss for Marias and Marek? I think with the news that SDK and Blitzarves out, I think it's the first option. So it's pretty much you're going SDK to Marias in both options. It's either Taylor to Sinclair or Foss to Marek. I think I'm getting the upgrade there. You in agreement?
Yeah, try and get the upgrade the best you can this week. I think it's a good move.
Yeah. We've got a super chat here as well from Jason Whiteley. So thank you very much, mate. Saying Rankin for Sanders or Nasiah so hang on. So Rankin for Sanders or Nasiah Sinclair or Stewart for SDK. So I'm assuming, it's Sanders to Rankin or SDK to one of Stewart, Sinclair or Nasiah. Probably the first one for me.
I'd definitely be getting Rankin over the other 3. I think you're definitely not grabbing Stewart.
Well, the reason that what you're saying here, not grabbing Stewart this week, right? The reason I'd rather wait and hold SDK in this situation for 1 week, Stewart drops in cash, hopefully scores well tonight. I hope as an owner, but hopefully for non-owners, you go SDK to Stewart next week, might cost you 100K, 120K, something like that.
About that, yeah. So, he's going to drop a huge amount in cash. So you just wait a week on Stewart. And I just think with Wang and Sinclair, they're already priced out where they're sort of at. They're not going to make any more money for you. Whereas you're grabbing a Rankin who's going to go up in value. So I'd be sticking SDK on the bench and putting the E on him. Hopefully he goes well and you can loop him on. Otherwise, I'd just be using the best 18 to best ability and putting on a Luke Trainer or whoever else you have in the background there for you.
Yeah, you might be able to loop if you've got to read. I don't know if you said that. I might have been just reading another question. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, cool. So many questions. I'm trying to sort of get the next one up there. There was one I was going to answer. Lobo the Pro says, hey guys, only way I can get Taylor to Rankin is going Foster Bison, not getting Marais. Is that okay? I think that's fine. Taylor's got to go. And I think if you get Taylor to Rankin, Foster Bice, you don't get Marais, but you can't get them all right. Would you tick that off?
I think Taylor needs to go as well, yeah. He's not going to... I don't see him hitting his break-even a huge amount. I think it's 57 this week, so he's not going to make money. I don't see
I said he's going to average 80 over the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
No, he won't. I watched that whole game against Hawthorn and no surprise, he's a key back, right? But he doesn't get involved in transition, and which isn't a shock. And people said to me on the watch long, Bowers doesn't get in transition. I know, but I can only hope when I've got Santana in my team. He doesn't get in transition. The only way he gets it is from intercepts. But I do think though West Coast is a matchup where if they bang it in, Taylor could just feast. So, but
100%. He scored a 91 last week. He scored a 91 last year as well against them. So there is a glimmer of hope.
Against West Coast.
Yeah, against West Coast.
Here we go. Here we go. His mate might be keeping the mid-season buys the way this is going. So, no, definitely not. No, I think I'm ticking it off. I know it sucks not getting Marais, but you're getting biased anyway, and you get Rankin in. So would be ticking those. Just unfortunately, DPP doesn't work. Hartley Reid would still out. I'm thinking going down to Will Ashcroft and have money to go up. What do you think about Will Ashcroft as a trade in this week? Obviously, good matchup against Richmond. Had a bump in CBAs with Neil being tagged.
He's probably the perfect sort of middle of the road player that I can see you just holding through the middle season of the buys and just running and holding. Just because if you can't get up to the top of the guys, I played around with him this week because I can't get to the top guys. I settled on Saligo instead, just because I think they're very similar. He's probably shown a bit more of a consistency and ceiling at the moment over Will Ashcroft, whose role is chopping and changing depending if there is going to be a tag on Neil. So I do think Neil could be back in the midfield full-time this week, and then that means Will Ashcroft could be back to being just a 40%, 50% sort of midfielder. And we've seen him have pretty low floors in those sort of situations. So in one phase, I don't absolutely hate it, but it doesn't give me a huge amount of confidence at the same time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind the Will Ashcroft play. I do worry that last week, the bump in CJs, Neil was getting tagged by Mark O'Connor, went forward a bit. I don't know if that's a regular thing. I think with the matchups, though, you could do worse. Like, he's got good matchups, even if he's not playing as a top three guy in the midfield, he could still score well. I feel like he is almost calling like the halfway house. Like, he's the guy that's not going to be a top 8. I don't know if he's going to get necessarily as close to the top 8, top 10. And you could arguably just save cash with a Marek this week if you're looking at going like a Sanders up to Will Ashcroft, for example. I think I'd almost rather just go to someone a bit cheaper and use the money next week for a bigger upgrade. Because the other thing we've got to remember, right, is Andrew Brayshaw's sitting at just over $1 million. Still a good option this week and next week. Next week's got Richmond. Tom Green is around $1 million. He's a good option. Sarong's under $1 million now. He could be someone to look at. I'm not as big on Sarong as a fantasy option, but he could still be there. You've also got Lockie Neal. I'd rather Lockie Neal over Will Ashcroft. It's about 80K more, 80K, 90K more, something like that. I'd rather maybe that play. And then the big one that we're all watching, Nick Dacos. He's going to be below $1 million this week. He's got Sydney next week, but then he goes Brisbane after that, and he's got a good run after. So for me, I'd rather save cash and prepare for a bigger upgrade there. So I'm not sure if that's what you said. Sorry, Darren, because I was reading through the next questions because they're just questions.
I didn't say that, but I do think you raise a very good point. It really depends what you're planning to do next week. I think a big target next week will be the likes of Andy Brayshaw, obviously coming up against Richmond Tigers. Obviously, huge matchup. He should go big in that one, so he'll probably be the number one upgrade target next week. So whatever allows you to have the remaining money to next week go from whoever you're looking to upgrade to him, then that's where I'll be going. So maybe save that extra 350, 400K to go to Marek instead of going to Will Ashcroft.
Yep, I like it. Got a couple of super chats here as well. So Nathan Thomas, thanks, mate. SDK to Holmes with 59K next week or Noble with 248K. I'm Holmes. Just get the guy. I'm still a bit.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Noble? Not bad option, but I feel like you're going to trade him at some point, right? Whereas Holmes is the guy that you're going to ride through to the mid-season buys, potentially even longer.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I definitely like Holmes. He's definitely my number one defender target this week, even above a Zorko and Whitfield and the likes. I have him number one. Whereas the Noble, while I think he could be really good, we've had one game sample size that he's actually done well. He didn't do particularly well in the first week, obviously against West Coast. It wasn't the greatest matchup for that. He's still getting used to the game style, obviously, over there at Gold Coast. So there's a huge factors that are playing in that. If I was to go with a cheaper defender, I'd definitely be going with a Bowie instead of a Noble, just because his thirst for the ball last week was pretty impressive, and I definitely would be going there instead with a bit more of a consistent role.
I'd probably go Bowie as well, but I'm probably the same. I'd just pay up for Holmes and get him. I've had Holmes and even the two Saints guys over your Zorkos and your Whitfields and Sheasels because, like, okay, great, he's got Richmond this week. No, my cap notch. I think he's going to go big this week, right? If I wish I had him. I wish I had him. I wish I had Whitfield. I wish I had Sheasel. I wish I had all of them. But the thing is, we don't. And this is a value game. We've got to try and build our team value up. We've got to try and get points on field. And then the only way to do that in the long run is by getting the value. And that 100K you save by getting a Holmes or 150K, whatever the difference is going to help you get a better upgrade next week. Could be a difference between getting a Will Ashcroft and a Nick Dacos in 2 weeks' time, right? So that's the sort of what I'm looking. I'm thinking, would you like Holmes and Dacos, or would you like Will Ashcroft and Zorko? And some people will say, well, if I'm doing it this week, Zorko and Ashcroft, so I got Richmond. But long term, it's Holmes and Dacos every day of the week. So, but yeah, no, Nathan, appreciate the question, and go get Holmes and enjoy tonight because I think you'll have a good game. Sean's got another super chat here. Thank you, mate. Would you trade SDK over Nevitt now? Nevitt obviously out, SDK sharing. Do you just get rid of the guy that's not playing, or does it depend?
I think so. Yeah, I think because Nevitt is not playing and he's potentially not going to be back for a little while with this little foot injury he has at the moment. I think he has too much money on his head. Yeah, he's got 550K on his head. So I'd be using his money to downgrade and upgrade on the other side and just watch SDK go out this week. He's not going to drop money, I wouldn't have thought, with a 54 break even, I believe. He should get very close to that.
He'll still be the backup right? Because Blitzarves isn't there. So he'll still have some ruck time. So it's not like he's not going to play key back for the whole game and score 40. Like he might, but I think he's more like he's going to score somewhere in the 55 to 75 range, maybe. Might not have that same score. But you said best 18, right? You get tied behind that for the week, and you can trade next week and go to someone that you like. Maybe Tom Stewart next week. SDK to Tom Stewart. I would not be shocked if that's one of the more popular trades next week if Tom Stewart looks half decent tonight. But we've got to see how Stewart looks before. So, guys, another super chat. Super's coming in thick and fast tonight. Thank you guys for this. Aaron Christian, thank you, mate. Love the channel, Bales. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. And love the all capitals as well for that one. Which two would you trade for Marias and Marek? Wicks, Lindsay, Foss, Bo Allen, or SDK?
A weird mixture, that's for sure.
Bo Allen's probably got to go, doesn't he? The red dot, or do you think you just hold him, hope he comes back, and use him as a loop moving forward?
If you have the facilities to go Bo Allen up, then absolutely I'd be doing that because somehow they're bringing in 3 debutants this week, and Bo Allen hasn't been included. So yeah, he doesn't seem to be anywhere near the team at this point in time. So this is the week to get off of him.
If this team is only, Aaron, if you've only got if Archer Reed's in your R3 and you've got no red dots, I'd keep Bo Allen. But it could just for the looping moving forward. But if you've already got a Boyd, which a lot of us have got, maybe Campo, maybe Hasty, Bo Allen's number 1. Wicks, Lindsay, Foss, SDK.
I'd probably
Wicks,
be Wicks. I'd be Wicks out of that.
Lindsay's going to come back and score. You'd think score well. Foss has still got a low enough break in your hold, and SDK is going to score more than Wicks this week. That's probably where I put it down to. So, like, I've got Wicks on my bench. I'd love to go him out over Sanders, but I'd have to bench Davidson to do that, which I don't like doing. So he stays. But yeah, if you can do Wicks and Bo Allen and Marias and Marek, that's great trades. Like you probably need 100K ish, somewhere around there, 80K, 90K.
Wicks is 456, so it's only 40K up.
40K, and then Bo Allen up's about 40K as well. So if you got 80K in the bank, Aaron, if you go Bo Allen and Wicks out. But if you can't, I guess maybe Foss can go at that point. Foss can go at that point, or SDK, one of those two. But yeah, appreciate the super chat there, Aaron. Very much appreciate it. We've got a couple more, guys. We'll scroll down the bottom and do a couple more before we wrap up because I've got to head off. It is actually 6:30 here, so we'll do 2 more questions. Langford or Marais with Butters back, says Alpha Turtle. Marais for me. Butters, people are worried about Marais. Marais is named on a wing. He's been named on the wing in both games. Port fans have been saying they've been crying out for a winger since the likes of Dersma and even Jared Pollock have left. Marais is there. Butters coming back doesn't affect Marais, I don't think. I think if you get other guys back and if Bergwijn goes back to a wing, then maybe. But I think Marais is fine and Butters back. I wouldn't be too concerned. Pranjeet, Captain Cherry or Bailey Smith? Got to be Bailey Smith. I know what your thoughts about Cherry are this week, Darren, but I don't know if I'd be looking at captaincy just with the little asterisks.
That's it. The risk is just there with the injury. Is probably the only factor why I wouldn't be captaining him this week. On paper, it's a pretty good matchup, which is surprising to say against Brody Grundy, who typically has been a tougher matchup in the past. But this year, he's been giving up a fair few points. So if it wasn't for the injury, I'd definitely be looking at it. But unfortunately with that, I'd definitely be backing in Bailey Smith over Cherry this week. Yeah,
exactly. Andrew, hey guys, is Holmes a captain option tonight? Maybe goes 110, 120. I don't know about you, Darren, but I don't know. Not as a captain. He doesn't I know he got 119 last week. That was like a 47-point last quarter, right? He's not normally a high ceiling player. So I guess as a captain, because you might have gone a TDK, maybe just want to save 100. But I'd almost argue I think Jack Macrae's probably a better captain as a safe 100. I don't know about Holmes, the captain. Matchup's good though, so if you want to go there, I couldn't knock you for it, but I'm just a bit nervous with no ceiling.
Yeah, I probably do agree with you that he hasn't shown much of a ceiling at the moment. So again, if you've gone the VC on TDK and you just want a safe 100, I wouldn't mind that as a matchup. Again, just be worried about Geelong. They could rest the players at any point, particularly tonight. If they're up by a certain amount at halftime, he could be definitely one of those that chop out. So that's where I do get a little bit concerned with the Bailey Smith as well. Whereas Jack Macrae, as you said, probably is a very safe 100 at the same time. Even though it is up against Port Adelaide, he should still be fairly good.
Yeah. Harley Reid just following up for his question before. So saying from Jack Steele up to Dunks or down to Marek. Yeah, so I wouldn't be going Jack Steele. Sorry, I think we actually completely brushed over because I remember you saying for Steele. No, we're not going Steele down to Marek. And I wouldn't be going Steele to Dunkley. I'd be going Jack Steele to Andrew Brayshaw or Tom Green, one of those two, whichever one you prefer. If you had to pick one, Darren, are you Brayshaw over Tom Green?
Yeah, I think I'm a Brayshaw over Green. I think we've seen more from a Brayshaw over a Green at this stage, even though Green could go absolutely massive this week. I think Brayshaw has the better run. That will give you a bit more confidence over the period of time until the least mid-season buys before we get into luxury season. Whereas a Tom Green probably is the main tag target, I would say, at GWS as well. So, yeah, Brayshaw's less likely to get attention. So I'd be definitely on Brayshaw.
Yeah, I'd be going Brayshaw as well. Chris, Marek or Max Hall? I think I'd be going Marek. Can give you points on field and make money. Max Hall's still an option, right? But you have missed a lot of the cash gen. There's nearly 200K he's made already. And if you bring him in, he scores back-to-back 50s. His break-in's probably somewhere in the 30s or even the 40s. So, like, he'll climb up if he goes lower. So, and Giants and Port, that's, where I'd be looking at. So, we'll go 2 more questions here. Tia McManus has got first trades to Marais. Do I go Foster Marek or hold on to Foster Marek holding on to Sanders? Would you go Sanders down to Marek and bank a bit more extra cash and hold Foss? Or would you go Foss out and hold Sanders for a week? I just feel like a Sanders stinkers around the corner.
There's potential subs around the corner as well. That's the
subbing or subbing out,
very on the brink every single week where it makes me nervous. But he's not doing anything to harm you at the moment is the problem. So it's like, do you just take the 70 points on field and just run with it and then do the upgrade on the other side? It's a tough call. I'm not really sure which way I sit with that one at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Crap. I almost forgot what question we were doing. There we go. Sorry, because I was just reading the next question. No, Tia, I'd be going Sanders to Marek and hold Foss. That's what I'll be doing. Bank a bit more extra cash. Use that for next week. Final question here from Scott Ramadan. Big Bales balls. Who goes to Who to go? SDK to Rankin or Foster Bias? GG's. Thank you in advance. SDK to Rankin. SDK
Easy
to Rankin.
one. Easy.
Easy one there. Yeah, that's for sure.
Grab Bryce next week if you really want him.
Yeah. And to finish off here, Alex is saying, what are your trades now, Bales? SDK hold. Well, I don't have SDK, but we will go through our trades for the people that missed it earlier and then season BC. So, Darren, what are your trades this week for people that missed it before? And obviously, TDK BC, who are you going captain?
So, my trades are pretty much locked in already. I've got Hollins to Moraes. That was done last night. And then I've got Camporelli to Saliga at the moment. But yeah, I would love to change it if I could, and I would be trading at SDK to a Holmes if I could, and that was sort of my plan before team announcements. But besides that, my captains, I am probably going to back in Jordan Dawson after this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah, I like Dawson there. I will be my trades. I'm going for. I went last night Camporelli to Moraes, and then my second trade, I've gone Sanders down to Marek, banking 225k for next week. And then my captains, vice captains, I'm going vice captain on Baz tonight, Bailey Smith, and then captain on Jordan Dawson tomorrow. So hopefully Bailey Smith can go big tonight, and I don't have to worry about it. But if not, Jordan Dawson will be my captain tomorrow, hoping for a bounce back from his quieter week last week. But thank you everyone that put their questions in. Appreciate all the super chats as well that came through. Very much appreciate the extra support there. And apologies if we did not get to your question tonight. There are a lot of questions coming through, and appreciate everyone that tuned in. If you didn't get your question answered and you'd like to get them answered, you can head over to our Patreon to get all the exclusive content there, Patreon Q&As. You get the Ask Me on Q service for free, which is the personalized audio response to your inbox. You can do full team reviews, trade decisions, help you guys with that. Or if you just want help and you don't know what to do in terms of trades this week, you can send through your whole team. I can help you out with that. So link in the description for that is below, or just go to patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics, or go to askmeonq, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. But you do get service free as a Patreon. So if you want to do that, then feel free. But if not, we're back on Sunday night, recapping the round as always with another special guest after the final game of the round. Darren, mate, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. Where can the people find you, and where can people find the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so mainly on YouTube at the moment. So you can find me at Wise Ocean Pods. I pretty much just cover where my team's at every single week. Same with the popular trading targets and captains. So 3 videos a week. So find me there.
Yep, beautiful. Make sure you go and give the man a follow on the socials, and go and follow the good content at Wise Ocean Pods on YouTube. You can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans on Twitter. If you are watching the video now currently, or watching the replay on YouTube, smash a like on the video. Takes 2 seconds of your time and really, really does help us out here. So if you can smash a like, that'd be fantastic. Make sure you do subscribe as well. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers. That's join the 4K club. That's our big goal. So if you can help us reach that, you get daily content as well. So make sure you smash sub on there as well. And if you are listening back to the pod and you could leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be very much appreciated. Might even be able to read a review or 2 out if there's some that come through in the next week or so. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Good luck this week. Good luck with your trades. No watch long for me tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow night for a watch long for the North and Sydney game. So looking forward to watching that with you guys there as well. And until tomorrow night, the watch long, and on Sunday for our review. Have a good night, and we'll catch you guys next one. Thanks everyone. See ya.
Thanks guys.